This video will show you how to build your GeckoBot model. It will also help you configure your GeckoBot to climb successfully. Open the manual to page 2. Here, you see all of the components included in the GeckoBot kit. You will also need a pair of scissors and a permanent marker. The bottom of page 2 shows you that you need to cut the tube into different lengths. Uncoil the tube. Line up the tube with the measuring guide along the side of page 2. First, we need 2 tubes that are 9 centimeters each. After you cut them, use the marker to write the lengths on the tubes, so it is easy to tell them apart. Now line up the tube with the 15 centimeter mark and cut a 15 centimeter tube. Repeat with a second 15 centimeter tube. Mark the tubes with the marker. Now line up the tube with the 17 centimeter mark and cut a 17 centimeter tube. Be careful not to cut yourself. Repeat with a second 17 centimeter tube. Mark the tubes with the marker. Now line up the tube with the 20 centimeter mark and cut a 20 centimeter tube. Cut a total of 3 20 centimeter tubes. Finally, cut 2 27 centimeter tubes. The final tube will be a few centimeters longer. You can leave it or cut it down to 27 centimeters exactly. Put the marker and scissors away, and now let's build the GeckoBot. First, we will build the body unit. Step 1. Take a square frame and insert a yellow short anchor pin. Attach a light green 7-hole flat rounded rod here. Insert a black 30mm tube here. Push it all the way in. Step 2. Now take a light green 3-hole wide rounded rod. Insert a red joint pin here. Insert an orange anchor pin here. Now attach 2 5-hole dual rods like this. Now loosely attach the 2 small assemblies you just built. It is not securely attached yet, and that's okay. Step 3. Now fit another square frame over the assembly like this. Insert a black tube through the corner holes like this. Step 4. Insert a yellow short anchor pin here. Attach a light green 7-hole flat rounded rod here. Step 5. Attach 2 yellow shaft plugs and 2 small gears like this. Step 6. Now find a 60mm black axle. You can use the guide printed in the manual to help you tell the 60mm and 70mm axles apart. Slide a small gear into the 60mm axle like this. Pay attention to where the raised collar on the axle is. Slide this axle with gear through the assembly like this. Secure it with another small gear like this. Make sure the 3 small gears mesh. Step 7. Now we will attach 2 7cm axles, 2 more small gears, and 2 more 7-hole flat rounded rods. Slide the small gear onto the 7cm axle. Make sure to slide it on from the side opposite the collar, and push it all the way up to the collar. Find a dark green 7-hole flat rounded rod and attach it with the axle and gear like this. Now attach the second gear to the second axle. Don't attach the gear like this. Attach it like this. Find the light green 7-hole flat rounded rod and attach it with the axle and gear like this. Hold the axles in place and flip the assembly over. Step 8. Now attach another dark green 7-hole flat rounded rod and another light green 7-hole flat rounded rod to the other side, securing it on the axles with 2 more small gears. sure all the small gears mesh together smoothly. Step 9. Now we will build the legs. We will start with 2 feet. Slide a 3-hole 90-degree converter onto a suction cup pad. Slide a red tube connector cap onto this and hold it in place. Assemble a second foot. Step 10. Now attach a 9-hole rod to the 3-hole 90-degree converter with an orange tube bolt. Secure it with a tube bolt cap. Step 11. Attach a dark green 3-hole crank to the 9-hole rod like this. Secure it with a tube bolt cap. Pay attention to what side of the leg it goes on. Attach a light green 3-hole crank to the 9-hole rod like this. Secure it with a tube bolt cap. Step 12. Attach the leg to the body unit. Make sure it is all aligned as shown. The left and right legs are not identical. They are mirrored. Step 13. Finish the second leg. Step 14. Attach the 3-hole cranks. Step 15. Attach the second leg to the other side of the body unit. Make sure that one leg is rotated to the front and one is rotated to the back, and that they are rotated exactly 180 degrees opposite each other. Now build a second body unit just as before. Now assemble 2 more legs just as before. And attach the legs to the body unit. As with the first body component, make sure the legs are aligned properly. Step 16. Now we have 2 body units with legs attached to them. Let's attach them to the motor box. The on and off switch is here. The batteries are inserted here. The orientation for inserting the batteries is marked on the motor box. Note the head and tail sides of the motor box as shown in the diagram on page 6 of the manual. The on-off switch is on the side of the body closest to the head. The battery compartment cover should be facing the tail side. Now attach the motor box to one of the body unit assemblies. Attach the head side of the motor box to one body unit assembly. Attach the tail side of the motor box to the other body unit assembly. Now we need to secure the body units to the motor box. Step 17. Use orange anchor pins to attach the 7-hole flat rounded rods to the motor box. 4 on one side. Step 18. And 4 on the other side. It must be assembled very securely so the gecko bot can walk properly. Remember which side is the head and which side is the tail. Step 19. Attach a dark green pump to the top of the side and a light green pump to the bottom of the side. Step 20. Make 2 copies of this sub-assembly. Start with the 5-hole rod. Slide a 60mm axle through the center hole. Insert 2 red joint pins into a 3-hole wide rounded rod. Attach this to the 5-hole rod, sliding the center hole over the axle. Now attach the large cam, which is teardrop shaped. Note that there is also a smaller cam that will be used later. Slide the large cam onto the axle like this. Slide a small gear onto the axle. Step 21. Now attach this sub-assembly to the body. You have to push down the accordion pumps in order to do this. On this side, the red cam should point exactly upward. Also on this side, the legs must be oriented so they are both rotated inward, toward each other. You can temporarily remove these small gears to freely rotate the legs into the correct position. Make the second subassembly as shown in Step 20, if you haven't already. Step 22. Now attach the subassembly to the other side of the body. Again, you have to push down the accordion pumps in order to do this. On this side, the red cam should point exactly downward, 180 degrees opposite the direction the red cam is pointing on the other side. Also on this side, the legs must be oriented so they are both rotated outward, away from each other. This set of legs is pointing outward, so it is all set. The second set of legs needs some adjustment. Again, you can temporarily remove the small gear to freely rotate the legs into position. Now, all the gears are meshed together and connected to the center motor. When the motor is off, everything is locked in place, so you can't freely rotate the gears or legs. Note how the legs on the left side are both oriented away from each other, with the red cam pointed down, and how the legs on the right side are both oriented inward, toward each other, with the red cam pointed up. This is a very important diagram for aligning the model so it walks properly. Pay attention to this. Step 25. Take a small 35mm axle. Slide the two small red cams onto it. Pay close attention to their orientation. The tips must be rotated 180 degrees relative to each other. So one points up and the other points down. Step 26. Attach the cam assembly to the body. Make sure you pay attention to which side of the body is the head side and which is the tail side. Orient your model like this, with the head to the left and the tail to the right. The top cam should be pointed toward 1:30 o'clock, a 45-degree angle above the midline. The bottom cam should be pointed toward 7:30 o'clock, a 45-degree angle below the midline, 180 degrees opposite the top cam. Step 27. Now attach the dual valves to the model. The spring-loaded valves need to face the inside, so the cams can push them in when the cams rotate. Attach a 7-hole wide rounded rod to the top of the two dual valves to hold everything in place. Note, everything is controlled by the central motor. It controls the two sets of cams as well as the legs, so the Gecko bot can walk and release the suction with the correct timing. Test out the Gecko bot now. There will be no suction now because the tubes have not been attached yet. You can test the suction by closing the tube sticking out from one of the feet with your finger. To release the suction, always pull up on the yellow tab, not on the model itself. Now, let's put the body aside for a moment. Step 28. Now we will build the Gecko bot's head. Starting with an angled arm, insert a black tube. Attach two light green curved rods. Step 29. Now attach a light green curved rod to a dark green curved rod. Insert a yellow short anchor pin into the light green rod. Now insert one red joint pin and two yellow short anchor pins into a 3-hole wide rounded rod. Attach this last sub-assembly to a 5-hole rod like this. Attach the second sub-assembly to the 5-hole rod like this. Attach the first sub-assembly to the yellow short anchor pins in the 3-hole rod like this. Step 30. Now attach two dark green curved rods together with a yellow short anchor pin between them. Insert two red joint pins. Attach two angled arms like this. Secure the free ends of the two angled arms with the translucent blue 2-to-1 converter. Step 31. Now insert the two translucent yellow long button pins into the eye sockets. Step 32. Attach the top portion of the head to the bottom portion of the head. Step 33. The kit includes a sticker sheet with 2 sets of eyes. You can choose which set of eyes you would like to use. Peel the eye stickers off the sheet and place them on the tops of the yellow button pins. Now the GeckoBot's head is complete. Step 34. Attach the GeckoBot's head to the body assembly. Make sure you attach the head to the correct side of the body. The head goes on the side closest to the on-off switch. Step 35. Now let's build the tail. Attach 2 3-hole wide rounded rods together with a yellow anchor pin. Insert 2 9-centimeter tubes into the wide rounded rod and secure with 2 shaft pins. It may take some effort to get the pins to fit into the tubes. You may need to use your fingernails to press the tube onto the pin. Attach the triangular bracket to the wide rounded rod. Orient it so the bracket keeps the shaft pins from falling out. Step 36. Start by assembling a circle out of 4 curved rods. Insert 1 red joint pin into the hole in the middle of the 2 light green pieces. Step 37. Guide the 20-centimeter tube through the first circular assembly, then through the wide rod in the second assembly, then through the triangular bracket, then through the wide rod again, and back to the circular assembly. Secure both ends of the 20-centimeter tube with a shaft pin. Steps 38 and 39. Now attach the free ends of the 9-centimeter tubes to the circular assembly and secure them with shaft pins. You must first position a 5-hole rod in place so the shaft pins also hold it against the circular assembly. Now the tail assembly is finished. Step 40. Insert a yellow anchor pin on the underside of the body. This keeps the tail from rotating around. Step 41. Attach the tail assembly to the GeckoBot body on the side opposite the head. Step 42. Now for the most important and challenging part of the GeckoBot assembly. Make sure you place the model on a piece of paper or fabric so the suction cups don't keep getting stuck to the smooth table. Insert a 17-centimeter tube between the front nozzle on the bottom right pump and the nozzle on the front right foot. Make sure all of the tubes are inserted all the way and are well secured to the nozzles. Insert a 27-centimeter tube between the rear nozzle on the bottom right pump and the lower nozzle on the front dual valve. Now the GeckoBot's front right foot will have suction and may stick to a smooth surface. When a suction cup gets stuck, pull on the little yellow tab on the suction cup to release the pressure and unstick it. Step 43. Insert a 20-centimeter tube between the rear nozzle on the top right pump and the nozzle on the back right foot. Insert a 15-centimeter tube between the front nozzle on the top right pump and the lower nozzle on the back dual valve. It is critical that you attach the tubes to the right nozzles so that the GeckoBot's feet stick to the wall when they are supposed to and release from the wall when they are supposed to. Step 44. Insert a 20-centimeter tube between the front nozzle on the top left pump and the nozzle on the back left foot. Insert a 15-centimeter tube between the rear nozzle on the top left pump and the upper nozzle on the back dual valve. Step 45. Insert a 17-centimeter tube between the rear nozzle on the bottom left pump and the nozzle on the front left foot. Insert a 27-centimeter tube between the front nozzle on the bottom left pump and the upper nozzle on the front dual valve. Make sure all the tubes are attached securely. Now your GeckoBot model is finished and ready for testing. Troubleshooting. Take the GeckoBot and place it on a smooth tabletop. Turn it on and see if it can walk. This model is walking correctly. Sometimes you may have some issues with the GeckoBot's functionality and need to troubleshoot it. Take the 7-hole wide rounded rod off the top of the 2 dual valves. This axle with the red cams on it is the timer. It controls the timing to release the air pressure in the suction cups at the right times. The motor turns the axle clockwise. When you rotate the timer axle clockwise, the cams will press the release buttons on the valves earlier, so the feet will release their suction earlier. When you rotate the timer axle counterclockwise, the cams will press the release buttons on the valves later, so the feet will release their suction later. This will keep the GeckoBot stuck to the surface for too long, as you can see here. So the GeckoBot is stuck and can't move forward. If this is happening to your GeckoBot, turn the timer axle clockwise to make it release the suction earlier. If the GeckoBot is slipping too much, turn the timer counterclockwise to make the GeckoBot stick to the surface a little longer. Here, the GeckoBot is walking correctly. Another example of an issue that might prevent your GeckoBot from walking properly is misalignment of the legs. Here we are messing up the alignment of the legs to show you how it affects the walking performance. When the legs aren't aligned, it won't walk. To fix this, you have to make sure the legs are aligned properly with the large red cams on the sides of the model. Here's how to align the legs with the large red cams. The legs on the left side of the model must be rotated outward. The legs on the right side of the model must be rotated inward. At the same time, the red cam on the left side of the model must be pointed straight down, and the red cam on the right side of the model must be pointed straight up. So, first turn on the motor and turn it off when the red cam on the left side is pointed down. Check to make sure the red cam on the right side is pointed straight up at the same time. You may have to try starting and stopping the motor a few times in order for the cam to stop in exactly the right spot. When you have the large cams in position, you need to make sure the smaller timer cams are also in the correct relative positions. The top cam should be pointed toward 1:30 o'clock, a 45-degree angle above the midline. The bottom cam should be pointed toward 7:30 o'clock, a 45-degree angle below the midline, 180 degrees opposite the top cam. Make sure you put the 7-hole wide rounded rod back. Now that the cams are in the correct positions, you can rotate the legs to the correct positions. Remove the back small gear wheel. Rotate the back left leg into place. Rotate it as far back and outward as possible. Replace the small gear wheel to lock the back legs in place again. Check to make sure the 2 back legs are rotated 180 degrees from each other. Now rotate the front legs into the correct positions. Remove the front small gear wheel. Rotate the front left leg into place. Rotate it as far forward and outward as possible. Here is the view from the left side and right side. Here is the top view. Now, test your GeckoBot on a flat surface again. If it walks properly, bring it to a flat window or other vertical smooth surface and test it out. Always hold your hands under the model when testing it, so that if it falls, you can catch it before it hits the ground. Another troubleshooting tip: if the back feet are sticking to the wall but the front feet are too loose, take out the front small gear and rotate the front legs so the front left leg is rotated a little more downward, a little more in the counterclockwise direction. It will touch the wall earlier. Now, try it again. Follow the troubleshooting tips on pages 14 and 15 of the manual. Also note all the warnings in the manual. Good luck building your GeckoBot, and have fun getting it to climb windows and other smooth surfaces.